Right, so we've opened our software, and now we're going to go and look at our calculations. So we start off with calculations, and calculations allows us to create multiple rates. So I can have more than one rate that I can work with. And you might ask me, why is that? Well, let's start off with the embroidery industry. In the embroidery industry, we have two different speeds that we run on. Caps that we run on a cap frame is definitely running on a slower speed than normal flat embroidery. And because it's running on a slower speed, your production per day is less on caps than it is on normal flat embroidery. So you cannot set up one rate only for your embroidery. You should have a embroidery flat rate and an embroidery cap rate. So without looking at the ones that we have here, let's go and create some rates. And we start off, again we say double click on the one that is there if I want to go and edit it, but I can go and say create a new rate. So creating a new rate, immediately I am in enterprise at this stage, so I cannot go and create an embroidery rate here, because there should be a column on the left hand side, on the right hand side there should be a column to say embroidery and embroidery cost. So I'm going to close this up, and you'll see what happens. I close this up. I'm going to go and open my Stitch for Profit software. So I suggest you basically download both of them, install both of them, and have both available on your computer, because they actually talk to one another in any case, using the same information. So let's just wait for it to open up quickly. There we go. And you can see now it's just opened up and exactly the same information is there. But now, when I open it up, you'll see I have rates on the right hand side on the Stitch for Profit. So Stitch for Profit has got another column in step 1 on the right hand side, which is rates. Right, let's go and look at what is the information that we're working with here, how to calculate a rate for you or for your business, or for a section of your business. So first of all, we start off with project hours. This is our sellable hours that we can sell throughout our business. So we're going to start off with questions. Ask the questions, we answer them. Number of hours per day that we are going to work on this specific, for the specific rate, or for the specific type of work that we're going to do. So the number of hours per day. And let's say we're going to work 8 hours a day. And then we're going to go over to number of days in a week. Now, you can work 1 day a week. That's fine. You can also work 7 days a week. But let's say we work Monday to Friday, so that will be 5 days per week. All right. The number of weeks per month. By default, there is 4.3 weeks in a month. So let's work on 4 and leave the 0.3 out. And that means that there will be a day off here and there during the month. And that cost will be calculated into our rate in any case. Then the number of months in a year. We would like to leave 1 month a year, or over a period of a year, take 2 14-day off times. So that means that we only will work for 11 months in a year. So I'm going to put in 11. Right. Now, immediately now you'll see that at the bottom it says my total man hours that I can sell in my business is 1,760. Now, the question might come up now, what happens if I have 4 staff members? Well, if you have 4 staff members doing exactly the same work, then you need to change the number of hours per day. So it will be then, instead of 8, it will become 4 staff members, become 32. So that is the changes that we'll do there. But that is something that we will discuss, variations on what we can do with the program. This stage, we've set up our project hours. So our sellable hours over a 12-month period is 1760. Right. Now let's go over to our middle column. Middle column covers financials. And in the little booklet of what is all included in the middle column, we will basically see. If you've taken that and you've worked on the workbook, you can actually see where all this information comes from. But I'm going to talk you through it and take you through information with it. Annual salary will be your salary, not your staff salary, only your salary. So that is one of the things that we leave there. So I'm going to leave it at this stage and not work with that. The middle column works on annual costs, not on monthly cost. So please make sure that you put it in correctly. So estimate direct cost for the year. I know it's a thumbs up, but depending on what business you are in, you have a rough idea of what you can do, what you can't do. I'm in South Africa. Our rand is basically right at about 10 rand to $1. So we're going to work on rands, and then I'm going to tell you what the dollar equivalent is. So roughly, if we work on 2,000 rand a month, that's 24,000 rand a year. That's about $2,400. So 2,400, that will be per year in dollars. Add another naught to it, that will be the rand. So that's 24,000 rand. So my estimate direct cost for a period of 12 months will basically be 2,000 per month, or $200 per month. That's 24,000 a year. So that's for in the embroidery side. If we focus on the embroidery or sewing side, it'll be like stabilizer, needles, thread, bobbin fill, and all that. That's basically, so it's materials that we'll use directly for a cost. Then we're going to go over to current annual overheads. Now, current annual overheads, although I'm going to put my staff members' hours in at the top there on the left-hand side, my staff members' salaries needs to go in on my overhead side here. So, roughly, if we run a business, let's say $24,000 a year, 240,000 a year, 240,000 rand a year, that's $24,000 a year on overheads. That will cover all the bits and pieces like telephone, premises, rentals, transportation, delivery, postal cost, salaries of staff members, and all that. That will go basically into that section there. The list is available in the document, in the workbook, so you can pick it up there. Right, then we go to capital cost. Capital cost in the embroidery sewing industry, a CNC machine in the steel industry, a lathe, a welding machine, and all that, that will go in here in capital cost. If you're basically doing deliveries and all that, your transport, the vehicles that you buy will also go into the section there. Anything that's of a capital nature. So let's look at our embroidery machines. So I know for a fact that certain machines are selling for about $15,000. So it's 15,000. And I'm going to add one naught because I'm in South Africa. So that will be 150,000 rand for that machine, roughly. And I've included that one machine there. Right. So I have at this stage, I can cover my overheads. I mean, my direct cost. I have included my overhead cost for my business. I've included the capital cost that I need to buy to get my business sorted out. Now I'm going to come to my annual profit. If I want to make money from my business, how much profit do I want at the end of the year after I've paid everybody? And then this profit section here, you'll see when we get to the point where we look at reports, you'll see that the profit section is also a separate little column there. And it will basically give you the idea of what amount you can transfer to a special savings account for your long-term account, where you can basically keep your profit separately after every transaction for the year. So profit-wise, let's say we work on $2,000 for the year, so or $2,400, working on a round figure there. So that's $2,400. Add a naught for it to get your rand, so it's 24,000 rand. Right. So it doesn't create anything at the bottom yet because I haven't put annual salary. Now, if we go back to annual salary now, if you have set up and you are running a home-based business, you've set up that your annual overheads is covering a portion of your living expenses and all that. The only thing that you need is that you need your salary to cover basically in some of your insurance and some of your groceries and your out of pocket and entertainment and all that. So for this fact, let's go and look at the, let's go and say 40,000. So 40,000 a year, 40,000 Rand a year. That's 40,000. If I go and add additional 0 to that, then that becomes $40,000 a year income, salary. But you can set this up, and if it's possible, according to your tax laws, distribute some of this money into the other columns here. That is something that you need to know. I can't at this stage tell you exactly what you can do overseas. Within South Africa, there's certain things that our tax man allows us to do, and it's possible to put some of your cost into your overhead cost of your business, and therefore reduce your annual salary, but then in the total running of your business, it's sorted out. Okay. So now we've got a $40,000 salary. We've got a $2,400 overhead cost a year. It's a direct cost a year. We've got $24,000 annual overheads. We've got 15,000 Rand in capital that we've pushed into capital. We've got a profit that we've put that we would like to keep at the end of the year of $2,400. And our total expenses that we estimate for the first 12 months of our business will be $83,800 or 838,000 Rand. Now, with the information that I've put in here, it immediately comes back and tell me now that I need to charge my clients 476 Rand and 14 cents per hour that I do work for them. If I was in the States, it meant that I had to charge $47.61 per hour for every hour that I work for a client. And that basically gives me my hourly rate. So, in short, by answering these few questions here and making sure that I've basically used the workbook to calculate and put all this information in my workbook, that I've got figures there, I can now say safely I have a charge out rate. I can take my charge out rate and go and save that. So let's go and say false rate. Let me just go and false rate, and then that's it, and we can go and say save that. Okay. So I've got false rate saved. You can see it's now popped over and it's part of my calculations there. So I can now go back to that and double click on it. Okay, so I've got I can at any point in time call up a rate and do some changes if there's something. If I've made a mistake somewhere along the line with my direct cost, and let's say perhaps it shouldn't have been 2,000 per month, it should be like 3,000 a month. I can go and change this to 36,000. And immediately when I change it, will change my rate. It won't go and change my invoices that has been done yet. But all new invoices as from today will be calculated at the correct rate. So that is the important part. Then you can go back. You cannot change the name anymore, but you can go and save the changes that you've got there. Right, let's go over now and go over to the rate side. Now this rate side is more applicable to the embroidery side. I haven't thought of anything else yet that it will be basically using it, so I've put that in. It's basically for the embroidery side. Now, embroidery side, there's one field that we can actually work with. You see, all the grey out fields is things that you can't work with. They are calculations that comes from information that you've put in here. So the embroidery machine speed, depending on what machine you have. If you have a domestic machine, your speed will be a lot lower. If you've got an industrial machine, your maximum speed will be different from a domestic machine. So if you have a machine like a Melco industrial machine, the XTS, which is running at maximum speed of 1,500 stitches per minute, I would say you can work on 80% of that. So roughly we can work on about 1,200 stitches per minute. So let's say 1,200. And that's 1200 stitches per minute that the machine will operate on. Now, working on 1200 stitches per minute, it means I need to charge my embroidery rate. I need to charge that out at R4.36 per 1000 stitches. So based on the cost that I've put in here, I need to charge that rate out there. So if I go back and I look at my annual salary now in rand per year, that's 400,000 rand salary. So for South Africa, that might be a very big salary. Let's go and take it one notch back, and I take it down to 40,000 rand a year, because the rest of the information that I have is included in my overhead cost. And now my charge out rate comes down to 251. R2.51 per 1000 stitches. So it all depends on what you have here. You can be crazy and say you want to earn R1 million or $1 million. You can put that in there. Have a look and you'll see your rates will immediately change. Question is will you be able to charge those rates? By just taking that note out at the top, we also see that my rate has come down tremendously to 200 and something odd here. So if I put that back there, 482, taking it out, 278. And it basically also make a change on my embroidery rate and my digitizing rate. Now, normally, if I look at our South African market, embroidery 251, it's a feasible rate. Digitizing rate 38.98. 38.98 is the same day digitizing. That's a fine rate as well. It's something that you can live with. So based on the information that I have here for the South African environment, this will work fine. I'm not sure for the States, but for the States what will happen is in most cases we'll basically take some of the notes off, except for the embroidery speed, and that will change your rates then for you on that side as well. So I'm going to go and save this now and say save my rate. Okay, so that I've done. Right, so I have my fills rate there and I've got all the other parts there. So that was setting up our rates for our embroidery business. Exactly the same would apply for our enterprise business, except that the right hand column rates, you won't have the field that you put in the information for the embroidery machines because you don't have an embroidery machine.